Dozens of Canadians on the brink, gathering in our studio to point fingers at wrongdoing in one of the biggest cases we've tackled. Their government is not listening, they say, so they've come to us with their stories of loss and frustration.
Hi everyone on Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us.
Their faces may hide their feelings, but the feeling is they've been scammed.
So once again, phone's off. I'm going to ask you to hang up your phone. Thank you so much. And turn off your ringtone.
My name is Gabriel. I'm from Mount Albert, and I signed a contract with Provincial Smart Homes for $18,750.
My name is Stacy. I'm from Niagara Region, and I agreed to a contract with Provincial Smart Home Services initially at $27,000.
Signed a contract with Provincial, $31,000.
I'm from Waterdown, Ontario, and I paid $32,000 to Provincial Home Services.
Hi, my name is Ariana, and I'm here with my dad, Juan, and he signed a contract for $32,000.
And we signed a contract for $33,500.
My contract was $34,000.
For $35,000.
$38,000.
Jim Ball, Burlington, Ontario. We signed a contract for $50,000.
Added up, and they signed questionable contracts worth more than $1.5 million for equipment some say they didn't need with a company called Provincial Smart Home Services. Provincial Smart Home sells and installs HVAC equipment to heat, cool, and purify your home. It comes with on-the-spot financing and low interest rates, the promise of rebates, free maintenance, and big savings on your energy bill. But for the people here, and many more, not much goes right.
So I'm going to ask you some questions. If the answer is yes for you, please put your hand up.
We want to see who experiences what at the hands of Provincial Smart Home.
How many of you thought that salesperson was somehow associated with government? Yeah, a lot of you. How many of you were promised you'd get a rebate if you signed up? Okay, so that was a real selling point. How many of you actually got a rebate? Only a few. How many of you were promised that you'd see big savings on your monthly energy bills? How many of you actually saw those savings? How many of you found that there was something wrong with your equipment once it was installed? How many of you feel you were charged too much? How many of you have not been able to get in touch with Provincial when you need them? That is, I think, everyone, almost everyone across the board. One person that couldn't be here wanted to tell her story, so we headed out to talk to someone named Crystal. She's from Madoc, Ontario. She shared her story with us, and now we'd like to share it with you and get your thoughts on it.
Crystal Sheffield is clearing a path to the door where so many of her troubles began, all with a simple knock.
Hey, Crystal. What a day.
It is. It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, too. Yeah. Let's go inside. You can show me what you got.
I got the knock on the door April of 2022.
So someone shows up at your door. What happens?
They said that they were here to help lower heating and electrical costs, and that they could suggest things that I might need or that would help, and promised rebates. Because as a single mom of 2 kids, it was the middle of the pandemic. Like, things were a lot tighter. My rebate was supposed to be $1,600 within 30 days.
Okay.
I'm still waiting.
Did you think that they were somehow connected with the province?
Yeah.
And what gave you that impression?
One, the name, Provincial Smart Homes, and that's what they were implying when they were saying, you know, like the province of Ontario and here through Enbridge and Hydro One to help Ontario consumers.
Did you think it was a good idea at the time, or did you feel pressured into it?
It sounded too good to be true, and I should have stuck with my gut. And I was under the impression that it was, if you didn't do it now, you would lose out. Like, I asked for time to think about it. That wasn't an option.
All right, show me what they put in the kitchen.
Here's what Provincial Smart Home Services convinces Crystal to install: a reverse osmosis water system.
This is not the original. The original one didn't work. It was defective.
Unfortunately, the maintenance contract she gets comes with little actual maintenance.
The insulation...
She does get a bunch more attic insulation she says she doesn't need.
You can actually see how much of the pink insulation is still...
It's overflowing.
There's too much insulation in my attic.
She also gets a HEPA filter and UV light on a new furnace she had already just bought, though neither seemed to do much.
That's where my filter is, which I still change every 2 months.
And Provincial offers to buy out the $9,000 contract on her new furnace and consolidate it all into low biweekly payments.
How much was all this going to cost?
All said and done was supposed to be $26,000, and that was the $9,000 and change furnace buyout was included in that.
All in. And how are you paying for that?
I was doing my monthly payments of the $66 and change, I think it was 29 cents every 2 weeks until May of 2024 when I received this huge increase. It went to $147 and change every 2 weeks.
Holy smokes. Did it freak you out?
It did. Like, I don't have that kind of money. Even today, I don't have that kind of money to put out, especially every 2 weeks. That's my groceries.
Crystal refuses to pay the increase. The company demanding it is called Finance It, and she has no idea they're part of the deal. The only paperwork Crystal ever had is this, a handwritten invoice from Provincial Smart Home.
And it says term 24 months, amortization 20 years at 2.99% interest. That's what you agreed to.
Yes.
Is this your signature?
That is my signature. I sign like a doctor, chicken scratch.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so that is your signature.
Yeah.
And then later, you ask for more documents.
I asked them to provide me the document that they have.
And you're talking about Finance It at this point?
Finance It, and this finally arrived on Thursday last week. I was finally able to get it.
Crystal receives documents she says she didn't even know exist.
Lo and behold, not my signature on it.
Well, let's compare those signatures. So this is you. This is your signature.
That is my signature.
This one is totally different.
Yes, that is somebody writing in cursive. It's definitely not me.
Wow. What did you think when you saw that?
I immediately was like, they have no contract with me. I don't owe them a penny.
But Finance It says she does owe them money, and they want it. Crystal says her refusal to pay hurts her credit rating.
I can't get a mortgage renewal.
And that means she's about to lose her home.
That is scary.
It's horribly scary. I have owned my own home most of my adult life. I bought my first home when I was 21. I'm 47 this year. I will no longer be able to own a home.
All because of that knock on your door in 2022.
The one knock is all it took to change my life.
I bet that hits home for a lot of you, hey? I notice a lot of arm crossing, head shaking. Shared experience, but a very difficult experience for a lot of people.
It is not easy, and on top of it, mentally, super stressed.
As the discussion deepens, it becomes clear many here blame themselves, at least in part, for what happened.
I feel like I was manipulated, and I feel ashamed that I was able to be gotten like that. I've always thought, I was a bit smarter, but apparently not.
My wife and kids are the only thing getting me out of bed, basically, getting me to work. It was extremely stressful.
It makes you feel so stupid. My financial advisor, he said to me, I've had him for a long time, he says, I thought you were a smart woman, Diane.
Wow.
If he saw this, maybe he would shut up.
Still, there's plenty of blame left over.
Okay, I want to show you some pictures of the co-founders of Provincial Smart Home Services, Khalid Elmi and Mohammed Osman. If these guys were in this room right now, what would you want to say to them?
What I would want to say, I don't think can be aired.
For all of us here, it's not about those two guys anymore. It's really about our finances, our situation, our life. So how can the government put together a package in order for us to figure out a way to not pay these people and do it legally?
Frankly, if I have to get a new heat pump at this point, I don't know which company to believe. Yes, I don't know whom to trust. And I think this will be there in every one of our minds. because and everybody who is looking at this program, or I think everyone will have this question naturally from now on, that whom should we trust?
Provincial Smart Home and co-founder Khalid Elmi have been charged under the Consumer Protection Act for false and misleading practices. But in a statement, the company says it operated in full compliance with the act and always confirmed details of every agreement with its clients.
I have the document which shows 0% interest.
A lot of the anger is directed towards part of the scheme no one sees coming, that big jump in payments, like the one that shocks Crystal.
After that, I got to know I have the higher interest rate.
And how did you get to know that the interest rate was jumping?
Finance it. Afterwards, I got a document Finance it stating that interest will jump after a certain year.
A totally different company contacted you and said.
So I was never told that I would have to pay 15% interest. I mean, I'm not that stupid. I could have gone to the bank and got a personal loan if that was the case.
And I think the real culprit here is the financing company, Finance It.
Finance It calls itself a point-of-sale financing solution. It lets HVAC companies like Provincial Smart Home offer customers low-interest loans that can be approved in minutes.
Increase from $90 to $300.
So fast that many Provincial customers seem unaware of what they sign up for, if they sign up at all.
So we never signed a contract. We never agreed to any sort of financial loan agreement for $27,000, to which they frauded my husband's name on as well, because he didn't sign anything.
But I hear other people stopping their payments. What's that going to do to our credit rating? And if we stop that, we're going to have extra interest on the payments that we're not making. And if we pay off, is there any way of getting our money back?
Where does that leave you?
In no man's land, which is where I've been for the last 6-7 months, which is a very uncomfortable feeling.
Finance It claims it believes those contracts are valid, but is now suing Provincial for $4 million. The lawsuit alleges Provincial engaged in deceitful, unlawful, and fraudulent activity. The allegations have not been proven in court. In a statement, Finance It says it's committed to high standards of service, but can't discuss specifics because of the lawsuit.
Figure out a way to...
No matter who's to blame, these folks want the government to step in.
So, is the government doing enough to protect you?
No. I mean, like everyone here, we're all very angry. But I think, in the end, I'm also greatly disappointed in the government system. What exactly is the government or anyone doing to control these financial institutions that take advantage of people? And when is this going to stop?
All they know is vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, but we're left out in the wind.
Help us to cancel these contracts so that we can live our life freely and stress-free.
They promised you things and they said they'll be there when you need them. So all these years, I've lived here since 2008, I didn't need them, but now I do. So come on and act up on that.
But even when the government does act, does it get it right?
There just aren't any punishments that match the crime. People are being let off the hook if they're being punished at all.
That's next. This is your marketplace.
Let's go inside. You can show me what you got.
We're down the basement in a murky world of home heating deals. People sign up for savings and get surprises instead.
I don't have that kind of money.
Big loans that come with broken promises. But even though charges are laid, many wonder, does the system have any teeth? Caught on camera. The HVAC scam in action. Look at a company we tell you about a few years back, Ontario Green Savings.
They kept saying over and over and over again how much it was going to save me money.
Homeowners pay big bucks for HVAC equipment that saves them nothing on energy bills.
This furnace is worth about $1,800.
No way!
And you're going to be paying more than $12,000 over the course of this contract.
It makes me want to cry.
The deals come with language buried in the fine print that make it hard to sell or refinance your home.
You're seeing me get scammed.
I know.
Former employees tell us Ontario Green Savings instructs them to follow scripts to suck people in.
So you were told to lie?
Yes, pretty much.
The CEO of Ontario Green Savings was Saeed Torbati.
You're only as good as your results.
He calls himself a serial entrepreneur who, at the time, is facing dozens of charges, including false and misleading practices.
What happens next with Saeed Torbati is a bit of a mystery. We know he enters into a deal with Crown prosecutors who drop charges against him and remove him from a consumer watch list. In exchange, Torbati agrees to compensate victims, though no one will tell us how many or for how much. Torbati says the deal with prosecutors was not an indication of any misconduct and was only meant to ensure customer satisfaction.
Elder abuse.
Bethany Pascudo says problems with HVAC sales are everywhere, and the government should be doing more. She's a lawyer with the Advocacy Center for the Elderly.
It is the vast majority of the work that we are doing these days. We've received hundreds, probably even thousands of calls over the last few years about these door-to-door HVAC scams.
Bethany thinks the risk is nowhere near the reward when it comes to questionable practices, so they keep it up.
There just aren't any punishments that match the crime. People are being let off the hook if they're being punished at all.
She says the few cases where charges are laid usually end up in settlements, with few people knowing the actual details.
Who does that protect when the government won't tell us what those details are, won't tell people?
It protects the HVAC dealers and their directors who've been charged. It's a problem because it's the consumers we need to be worried about protecting.
Instead, only some consumers get compensated, while most, including provincial smart home customers, are left out of pocket and out of luck now that the company is out of business.
I mean, in most cases, you need to speak to a lawyer about this, but to have thousands of people individually contact a lawyer it's an incredible burden on the system.
The Canada Greener Homes loan.
Most HVAC pitches play off the fact governments and utilities offer money to help homeowners improve their energy efficiency.
It's very believable. That's part of the problem, is because you do hear about these various rebates in the news. So if someone comes to your home and says, look, there's a heat pump rebate, in the back of your head you think, I've heard something about a government rebate for heat pumps. And they make all sorts of promises, and the average person wants to believe someone who's telling them something positive.
Bethany thinks bigger fines and more transparency would help keep consumers safe.
When the government announces new rebate programs, they need to make it clear what that program entails and how you get that funding. Because that is really the crux of the matter. But if the government focused on saying, you need to make the application yourself, you need to be approved for funding before you do the install, I think we'd see a significant improvement on prevention.
We asked for an interview with the Ontario government, but they say the province's recent election campaign wouldn't allow it. In a statement, they tell us they do charge companies that engage in unfair and misleading business practices. They also tell us that consumers have a year to cancel contracts that are made under those kinds of circumstances.
But something has to be done.
Not much help for many of these homeowners, but they offer some tips to help others.
What to watch out for. What advice would you give people?
Whoever comes to your door, they're not there for your benefit. They're there for their own benefit.
So we have to do our own due diligence. We have to find out what is right. Do own your research.
Read every single line of contract before signing anything. And lastly, on a funny note, my wife was insisting not to sign this contract. So always listen to your wife.
I just wanted to thank Marketplace. And I don't know about everybody else, but I do feel better that it's now out there, and having listened to everybody else who was involved, you don't feel like you're alone anymore. I don't feel like stupid anymore, because it's not just me.